So another little aspect of atheism that kind of, always shoves itself in there is basically, science can't know everything, and religion offers an explanation through the quantity known as God. Now, I'd say, factually, if you look at things, like you'd see that, religion has an explanation for the origin of man, and science has an explanation for the origin of man, and it makes almost no sense to compare them because the religious always, and not always, but for the ones who are very adamant, they always say that it's you can't compare it. Like you can't compare belief with science because they're in two different realms. But if we were to be honest, and this is a difficult thing because for the religious, they feel what they believe is honesty. So it's difficult to get into the mind of somebody who believes something. Therein lies another difference between scientific evidence and belief. But for instance, science offers the story of the origin of man as evolution. We slowly evolved from lesser and lesser species, without saying lesser in a derogatory sense. Just not to offend or anything like that, or make it seem as if somehow in this state that we're in, we are somehow superior or dominant. Different traits have obviously been bestowed on us through the evolutionary process to sort of have us be the dominant species on planet Earth. Now, the point I'm trying to make is this belief thing is not truth. Like Adam and Eve, man didn't come from one man and one woman in the Garden of Eden, and the whole eating the fruit thing, whatever that means. Those things are, and for a lot of religious people, they understand it as myth. Basically metaphor to describe moral lessons that we need to be very attenuated with. But forgetting all of that and all the beautiful different misinterpretations you could have of some of the stories are quite literal if you ask me, but forgetting some of the more beautiful interpretations, etc., of biblical story or stories, which to me I would always just pick the evolutionary road. Like, I mean, it just seems to make more sense, and not just sense to me, but sense to a lot of people who work in the realm of science. Like, I mean, the evolutionary process helps create a lot of scientific breakthroughs in medicine, in biology, explaining, and does a lot to explain the way we are now, and the way other animals are, and the way we came to be at this point we're in. The belief thing just doesn't jive. It doesn't click, because you have some religious people saying it's just interpretation, and then some people are literalists, like they say that is the way it is. Now, there's also the idea of basically people who say, well, science doesn't know everything, and it's like, but that's a core principle of science, that we don't know everything, and we are getting better and better at knowing things that were previously unknown. So I've never really seen any scientific study that made up a story about the way things work. I mean, there are hypotheses and there's theories, and and I forget the exact hierarchy, but I mean, science doesn't make up answers. It actually does so through a very methodical process. It actually finds answers through a very methodical process, and not just a process of experimentation, but a process of review and accreditation and validity, peer review, etc., etc. So there's something that seems to be more traction with science than there does seem to be with belief. belief is kind of this flowery thing that people kind of shift around and move around however they see fit, whereas science actually does have, facts that kind of create theories that seem to work in practicality, like planes flying, as Richard Dawkins says, even if science doesn't know everything, which it doesn't claim to, its goal is to find out those answers through experimentation, through a very real understanding or a very empirical understanding of the way the world is. So anyway, that's my video for today. I will think of more stuff to say later. Bye.